emotional reasoning. On my list of cognitive distortions, I have this named as emotional decrees because under the category judgments and decrees, because we can put ourselves in a position of having godlike power if we're not careful. And that's really what cognitive distortions can do for us. If you don't know what I'm talking about with this word, it's kind of a big term. Cognitive distortions. This is a fancy way of saying we have thoughts and our thoughts don't be right sometimes. We got thoughts and they're just incorrect the way that we think. And as a result, it creates feelings in us that are also not appropriate for the circumstance. So inappropriate thoughts create inappropriate feelings. And so we're going to be talking about this concept of emotional reasoning today, which is a cognitive distortion where a person feels something, so therefore they feel like whatever they're feeling must indicate something about their reality. They feel something, so they feel like whatever they're feeling is indicating something about their reality. Now, what really makes this worse is that you listen to songs, you watch movies, you watch television, and they're all telling you this message, and their message is what? They're like, oh, listen to your heart. Listen to your heart. If you were to tune into pop culture, if you were to tune into pop psychology, if you were to tune into the pseudoscience of new age thinking, the concepts that you would be fed is that you have this special gift inside of you that will guide you. It's something mystical, it's something magical, and it will give you the feelings that you need at the time you need them that will let you know if a situation is good or if a situation is bad, if you should buy something or if you should get away from buying something. And so they're like, just listen to that feeling inside of you, listen to your heart, right? And the problem is that feeling, including our intuition, is really just our prejudice. That's our making a decision without the evidence being considered or weighed in. That's what intuition is. It's your ability to make a decision before you've actually reviewed all of the evidence. So what happens in emotional reasoning is that we feel something, and then we decide that it must indicate that something is true in our reality. But the problem is it's not always right. It's not always right. So we can feel like, oh, I think something wrong has happened to my son. He hasn't called me. I think something bad has happened. And because I feel this strongly, it must be true. That is emotional reasoning. So now we're thinking something real about the universe has shifted, but it's only because we have a feeling. There's no other evidence. Well, I mean, maybe outside of the fact that he hasn't called. So now we've decided that something bad has happened, and then what happens? Well, then he comes in the house a little bit late and he tells us a story, and the story was valid, and then we realize, oh, we weren't correct. But it's important that we learn from this experience that our intuition is worthless. No, our intuition is not worthless. It's just not always correct. It's not always dead on. You can not get a text message from your loved one, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your husband, your wife, and be going through the same thing. Oh, I think they're going to leave me. I think they might be cheating. I think they're having an affair. They're probably at their girlfriend's or their mistress's house right now. And again, we're creating these ideas about the reality we live in, but that idea, that opinion that we have about the reality is based on the feeling. Because we feel it, it must be true. Because how else would I feel this strongly? That is emotional reasoning or an emotional decree. I feel, so therefore it's true. We are assigning ourselves godlike powers, and it's cognitive distortion. It's behind and fueling many of our mental illnesses. And if we have borderline personality disorder, this can really be at its worst. We can feel so emotionally guided that we will actually sabotage our life or relationships based on feelings and not actual evidence. So someone who has emotional feeling will say, I feel so jealous. And this jealousy is so strong that he must be cheating on me. Not, I have a list of evidence that proves this. No, the feeling is so strong that he must be cheating. And then what that can lead a person to do is actually sabotage their relationship and say, well, I'm afraid of being abandoned. And so I feel like I will be abandoned. Again, emotional reasoning. So therefore, I'm going to leave him before he can leave me. And then they abandon their mate. And then their boyfriend, girlfriend's like, what? What happened? And if they even get a chance to talk to you, you don't have a real good reason outside of you had a feeling. Well, I felt like you were cheating. I felt like you were going to leave me. I felt like you were going to abandon me. And they're like, so you abandoned me? If you didn't want to be abandoned, why'd you leave? Well, because I had a feeling. These feelings can get us in trouble. So your intuition, your heart is not worthless. Your emotions are not worthless, but they are not the boss. And when we follow the emotions and the feelings as the boss, when we think that they have some mystical connection to the physical realm and the reality around us, and they're telling us something that we otherwise wouldn't be able to perceive with the other senses that God obviously gave us, your eyes, your ears, your nose, your mouth, your sense of touch, your ability to feel heat. So you have all these abilities that you already have that are scientific and God-given, but you're adding on extra abilities. You're like, no. But I can sense if something is going wrong. So emotional reasoning is my feeling must be the reality. I feel afraid, so this person must be about to abandon me. And that's going to be your explanation to why you left your boyfriend. Or I feel so sad that clearly this will never get better. It's emotional reasoning. You feel sad, and because you're so sad, then it will never get better. I feel worthless, therefore I am worthless. And you talk to your therapist. Your therapist says, no person is worthless. You say, yes, but I feel worthless. And then they take you through the illustration and they show you that no person is worthless. And you say, yeah, I understand, but I feel worthless. Therefore, I am worthless. This is cognitive distortion. It's an untrue way of thinking, and it's unhelpful. Your feelings tell you something. They are valuable. What do your feelings actually communicate to you? Well, your feelings are actually communicating what you value. Feelings are not worthless. Your intuition is real, but it's not going to be able to read every situation. The intuition is your sense of something without having the evidence. The only time we should be letting the sense of something without evidence guide us is in emergency split-second decision situations, right? Oh, I see a guy, he might be dangerous, let me go over here. That's an emergency split. You didn't have time to get all the evidence of what type of person this was. You just had to make a quick, immediate decision. Most of our life is not an emergency split-second decision. Therefore, for most of your life, you're not supposed to be using intuition to guide you. Does that make sense? Your feelings do tell you something. They tell you about your values. What are your values? The values are the things you hold to be most important. The things you hold to be most important are who you are. So your feelings are telling you who you are. So when you're questioning your spirituality, I don't know, am I really a spiritual person? It's an indication that you are a spiritual person, because it's spiritual people that question their spirituality. Think of that. When you're questioning your kindness, I don't know, I feel like I was so mean, I feel bad. It's because you are a kind person or you value kindness. Think of that. Your feelings are telling you something, but they're just telling you what you value. That's what they're telling you. They're telling you about you. They're not telling you about me. So you say, I'm looking at this guy, I'm getting the feeling that he's a bad person, I can't trust him. What that's telling you is that you value being able to trust someone. You have fear. You have been hurt. You have been traumatized. It's not really, that feeling's not telling you anything about me. To learn about me, you're going to actually have to get real evidence, real documentation to start to learn about this person. You're going to need actual experiences with me. And that data will then help you to learn something about me. Your feelings are telling you about you. If you're wondering if you're a narcissist, it's because you are self-aware and therefore not narcissistic. If you're concerned, oh no, I could be a narcissist. I'm wondering, I hope I'm not a narcissist. That's because you have the ability to reflect and you value not hurting others. You value not being an abuser. That's what that shows you. It's not telling you that you are a narcissist. If you're sad that your father died, then it's showing you that you love your father. You valued him. If you're sad that your PlayStation 5 broke, that shows you that you loved your PlayStation 5 or you valued it. If you're afraid you're going to lose your job, it's showing that you value your job or your income. If you're afraid you're going to lose your house, it's because you value having a place to live. We may have had bad experiences in the past, but those don't dictate the experiences we will have in the future. Did you catch that? Say it with me. My past doesn't dictate my future. My past doesn't dictate my future. So you may see a man and you may have had a bad experience with a man, but that doesn't mean this experience is going to be bad. And you may have a feeling like everything's going to be bad with this man, but it doesn't mean it will just because you have a feeling. The feeling is just indicating to you that you have past trauma around this, or it's important to you. It's showing you something about yourself. So do you recognize any emotional reasoning in yourself? It's something we have to weed out. So let's identify it first. And if someone who is emotionally reasoning says, I feel stupid, so therefore I must be incompetent. That's an example of emotional reasoning. I feel stupid, so therefore I must be stupid. Is it true that everyone who feels stupid really is stupid? Yeah. I'm afraid of flying, so therefore flying must be dangerous. Afraid of getting in an airplane, feel the fear, so therefore there must be a high likelihood that you're going to crash. I'm feeling afraid that this plane is going to crash. I think this plane's going to crash because I'm getting a feeling. Your feeling is just telling you that you're afraid because you are concerned or had trauma or read something or saw something or just don't know about this. And we fear what we do not know. You don't have experience with this. I'm feeling rejected. So therefore, nobody likes me. That's emotional reasoning. It's emotional reasoning. It's okay to feel rejected, but to take it and say, therefore, nobody likes me, your feeling can't determine how everyone else feels, right? A man mistreated me. Therefore, I feel like men don't know how to love. We can't reason without using the emotions. We got to reason using the cerebral cortex, smart part of the brain. We can't decide that all men are like your last man. Can't decide that all women are like your last woman. The feelings are not facts. Emotional reasoning is cognitive distortion. I feel overwhelmed, so therefore everything is falling apart. I feel anxious about this presentation I have to do at work, so therefore it's probably going to go poorly. I feel guilty. I must have done something wrong. Just because you feel guilt doesn't mean you did something wrong. You might feel guilt because you value the feelings of other people and something you did hurt their feelings, but it doesn't mean you did something wrong because maybe you set boundaries and that's not wrong. It's not wrong to set boundaries, but it hurts people's feelings sometimes. And you can feel guilty. So sometimes you can feel guilty, but it doesn't mean you did something wrong. Are you following me? It's emotional reasoning. That's emotional reasoning. I feel unlovable. Therefore, I must be unworthy of love. You feel the emotional reasoning in that? Since I feel unlovable, I must be unworthy of love. So you are the one human in the universe that God has made that is absolutely worthless. That's emotional reasoning. It's not based on any actual evidence. If I told you to sit down, write down the evidence you have that you're unlovable, you wouldn't have much outside of your feeling. You'd be like, well, I feel unlovable. And one time I did something bad. Okay, great. And now what's the evidence that you are lovable? If we worked on that together, you'd have a whole list that you're creating of reasons that you're actually a lovable person. Of course you can be loved. Just because someone else didn't love you in the past, just because someone you loved didn't love you, just because someone you loved didn't love you doesn't mean you're unlovable. Just because someone doesn't drive my car doesn't mean it's undrivable. Just because I'm the only one living in this house doesn't mean this house is unlivable. So you be the one to love you. Just because someone else didn't love you doesn't mean you're unlovable. Just because you're feeling unlovable doesn't mean you are. Just because you're feeling worthless doesn't mean you are. A person whose emotional reasoning, they might say, I'm angry, so my friend must have intentionally hurt me. I feel upset, so you must have did it on purpose. I know you did. I have a feeling you did. I feel like you did this on purpose. Right? Now we're getting into mind reading, right? We don't know people's intentions. Only God knows people's intentions. Humans don't know people's intentions. Let me repeat that one. Humans don't know people's intentions. Your feelings, your intuition is not telling you what someone's intentions are. Your intuition is just can tell you your intentions. That's it. That's it. We have a hard enough time figuring out our own intentions, let alone trying to figure out someone else's. So there is no I'm angry, therefore you did it on purpose. We don't know if they did it on purpose or not. What we can figure out is our boundaries. I'm angry means I feel like I'm upset. There's a vulnerable emotion under all this bravado. That's what anger means. There's something vulnerable, a nerve was touched, sadness, hurt, embarrassment, humiliation, confusion, right? There's something vulnerable here. We feel dumb. There's something vulnerable. We feel that there was an injustice. Those things make us feel angry because we actually have that split second where we feel that vulnerable nerve and we go, oh, we got to cover that up with something because I can't allow that to be seen by someone else. So we cover that sadness, that fear, that embarrassment, that humiliation, that shame with anger. What? And that's what we show because we're too embarrassed to show this, right? Because it's too weak. We don't want to show that. So we show all that anger. That's why I call it a premium upgrade emotion. And in reality, we're really feeling vulnerable. And the reality of our vulnerable feeling is that it's just based on our perception of matters. All of our feelings are based on our perceptions. Put that in your notes. All feelings come from perceptions. None of them come from a special sixth or seventh sense that you have. It's not that. That's not what your feelings are coming from. They come from your perceptions, which is enough. I mean, we're miraculous beings enough that we don't need to add extra magical powers on top. We are miraculous. So when you see something happening, your subconscious mind immediately makes a snap decision on what feelings to give you, what chemicals to release in your system based on how those perceptions interact with your values. That's how emotions work. The subconscious mind, that's miraculous. That's incredible. We don't need to add anything else to that. Your subconscious mind, it keeps track of your values. And as soon as you see something, it hits you with the emotion that will indicate to you how that thing is interacting with your values. So for instance, if you see a child getting abused and you value children, right, and you value justice, all of a sudden, the moment you see that abuse, boom, your system's going to get flooded with chemicals and you're going to, oh, I feel upset. I feel excited. I feel sad. You're going to feel strong emotions because you're witnessing a violation of your values. That is what emotions are. You can just hear the story. You can see it happening and you will feel the emotions. On the other hand, if someone that you just think is so fine, so beautiful, so attractive, shows you or tells you they love you, they find you attractive too. They've been looking at you. All of a sudden, your system boom, gets flooded with serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine. I'm on cloud nine. I feel so good. What does this feeling mean? Does this mean he's the right one? Does this mean it's from above? No. It's your perception. Your subconscious mind saw that aligned with your values. Your subconscious mind sees that it aligns with your values, drops the chemicals in your system. You're feeling it all over. You got butterflies. You're doing everything. You're feeling everything in your body. And you're like, these feelings must mean something. Yes, they do. But I'm telling you what they mean. They mean that something has interacted with your values. The positive feelings, the desirable sensations mean something has aligned with your values in your perception. The negative feelings or the undesirable sensations, that means that something has violated your values in your perception. It's just that simple. It's not deeper than that. Making sense? I feel like a failure, so I must be a failure. Wrong. No human is a failure. That's too extreme. It's emotional reasoning. I feel hopeless, so there's no point in trying. You're taking the emotions, you're trying to bring it into the reality. So how do we manage this out? How do we get out of this emotional reasoning and get into whatever the alternative is? What are we supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? Just be a robot, Roman? Am I supposed to walk around just, oh, I feel nothing. I can't trust my intuition, blah, 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 blah. Is that what I'm saying you got to do? The answer isn't to jump to the other extreme. The answer is to hit the balance right on the in-between. What's the balance? What's the balance between being an emotionally driven person and a robot that only analyzes data? Well, we would be emotionally intelligent person that is led by our logical mind. That's the balance. We would be an emotionally intelligent person that's led by the logical mind. You see, we want to process just about everything in the cerebral cortex. And what that means for you on a daily basis is instead of going with the feels, you can feel the feels, but be emotionally intelligent, which is to recognize that the feeling is indicating that there's something of value in play. Your values are being indicated by the feelings. So then you need to take time to analyze. So how are we going to analyze? Well, number one thing you need to do to stop being an emotional reasoner is slow down. We need to slow down before we get into the drawing conclusions and then sabotaging relationships and jobs. Whoa, just slow down. Rule of 7 seconds. 7 seconds, just pause. Now this allows us to get into thinking. Another good tool, stop, S-T-O-P. Stillness, thoughtfulness, observance, patience. Stillness, thoughtfulness, observance, patience. In other words, stop, slow down, and then you can start to analyze. Old Faithful here, the cerebral cortex is incredible. This thing, man, you can process scientific equations, mathematical things, but also just the science of people and interactions in your life and the universe. You can see it clearly. You can see it clearly. I know you have the ability because look at all the good advice you give your friends. Look at all the good advice you give your kids and people who come to you for advice. That's all coming from here because you're taking the time, you're analyzing, you're not in the fields at that time. Your emotions are not driving it. So you're just like, yeah, and tell me about that. And then all of a sudden you've got it. You're just like, you know what you should do? You should just simply blah, 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 and you're breaking it all down for people. And you know why you can do that? Because you're brilliant. You're brilliant. So we need to tap into our own brilliance. It doesn't come automatically. The first thing that will arrive is the emotion because that's the automatic part. Do you understand? When you perceive something, you will first get the emotion. Don't add more meaning to it than it really is. My intuition has told me that I need to. No. Just, I see it, I feel it, then I slow down so that I can analyze what's happening and how I should respond. Be still, be thoughtful, be observant, be patient. We need to slow down. That is the first thing we need to do. If we don't want to be stuck in, caught in, constantly emotionally reasoning on everything. We got to slow it down. Then we can use the analytical abilities to process the situation. Now, to make this simple, I have on the website mindfree.org a resource called the Quality Checklist of Thoughts. The Quality Control Checklist is what it's called. Let me see if I can pull that out for you. Quality Control Checklist here. Let's see. Let me know if you guys cannot. I know I gotta move this over. If you're on the Zoom call, you can see this. If you want to see it and you're on TikTok, you go to mindfree.org, go under resources, and you have there right at the bottom the quality control checklist. You click on that PDF, you download it. Everyone who's on the call, you get a free download of the quality control checklist. And this is how we can analyze if our thoughts are high quality and therefore make sure that we're not just emotionally reasoning on things. So you might get a strong emotion and you might think a thought like, well, this means that she's cheating. Ask yourself some questions here. One of the first questions you want to ask is, does this thought get me to my purpose? Is this thought helping me toward my purpose? Is it helping me toward my goals in life, what I'm trying to accomplish? Is it helpful for me? Is this thought helpful to me? Another question, would it be abusive if I said that to my kid? So the feeling of, well, I feel worthless, therefore I am worthless. Would you say that to your kid? Or would that be abusive? If it would be abusive to tell your kid, hey, you know what? I feel like you're worthless, so you probably are worthless, kid. Yeah, that's abusive. See, when you realize that, then you realize you're not supposed to be saying it to yourself. That's not self-love. So don't say anything to yourself that you wouldn't say to a child. Is it a bit extreme? Analyze this thought. Is this thought extreme or does this thought represent balance? What are the flaws? Analyze what are the flaws of this thought. So I've just decided that he's cheating. Now, what are the flaws of this thought? Well, I might not have a lot of evidence. That's one of the flaws of the thought. Yeah. List other possibilities, right? So your wife comes home and she doesn't greet you when she walks in, or she seems like she has an attitude. Well, what are some of the other possibilities besides, oh, she must be having an affair, or oh, she must not love me anymore? or I must be worthless. List the other possibilities. This is what we're doing while we're being still and thoughtful. Oh, well, she could be tired. She could be having a bad day. She could be hungry. There could be hormonal issues. Ask yourself, is my thought perfectly accurate? Is this thought perfectly accurate? Ask yourself, what is the evidence for and against this? So we have those feelings that come up. The biggest thing that we need to do is analyze the evidence. This is the most important step here. Analyze the evidence when it comes to emotional reasoning. Make two lists. On one side, what's the evidence for this? Other side, what's the evidence against this? So that we can really decide if it's time to end this whole relationship or burn down this whole house, or if we need to chill and wait, gather more information first. Sometimes we can conduct a survey. We can go talk to people. Hey, I was feeling like everyone was judging me at the party last night. Do you think that was true? I was feeling like I was awkward and unlikable. Do you think that was true? We can conduct a survey. Scientific. Conduct your surveys. Go around asking people questions. Find out if the way that you're thinking is consensus. You'll be surprised what you may uncover. State to yourself one positive and one negative. This will help you to balance out your emotions because you're balancing out your thoughts. So one positive, one negative is, okay, well, if I lost my job, I don't know how long it's going to be before I replace my income. That's one negative, right? But I do have more time to be with my children and to work on my book. That's one positive. This helps you to balance your thinking, to state one positive, state one negative. So all of these are tools to help you to think in a way that is more logical and less emotionally reasoned. Is it helpful? Is it kind? You get the idea. So utilize the quality control checklist. Over time, you will have some of these techniques memorized. So you'll be able to understand a lot better in the moment how you need to process what's actually happening around you. Quality control. We need high quality thoughts so we can feel high quality emotions. Your emotions are pictured in pop culture as your heart. Well, if you want a good heart, then you want good emotions. So let's get our emotions checked up utilizing the quality control checklist that's available for you free tonight. Download it, PDF, mindfree.org.